Getting gritty about thriving. Hey, my dear, I am leadership development coach Kathy Archer, and thank you for joining today's live session where we are talking about grittiness and how we can use that grittiness and cultivate it to start to thrive more in life. Because if you're like most women, you spend most of your days running around chasing fires, following that crazy to-do list, doing everything everybody else wants you to do, and never getting to that work that you really wanted to get done. I give you both the inner and outer tools to turn that around so you can move from surviving to thriving in both leadership and life. If I forgot to say it at the beginning, I am leadership development coach Kathy Archer and best-selling author of the book Mastering Confidence, which was out a year ago, but the audio version will be out in the next few weeks. So if you have been one of those people who wanted to read my book but never found the time or bought it and never read it, and you think perhaps that listening may work for you, well, stay tuned because the audio version will be available on Audible within the next few weeks. While you are saying hello to me in the chat box and telling me you can hear me, I'm going to share this replay into the Confident Women Leaders group as soon as I find it on my phone here. Give me a second. So in the comment box, just say hello. Tell me you can hear me. Tell me you're listening. Tell me where you are listening from, all that good stuff. And I am going to share to a page, turn that into a group, find Confident Women Leaders group. Facebook doesn't make this easy. If you are a leader who struggles a bit with their confidence, feels a little alone and isolated at times, perhaps you want to join the Confident Women Leaders group as well. I will share the link after, but it is a private Facebook group that I run for women leaders only who are wanting to grow and develop themselves. Now I just need to shut off my internet on my phone so that it's not pulling from this internet. So again, thank you for joining me. If this is valuable to you, please share. Please share with people that are, people that you mentor, people that you think could use this information. Share in your newsfeed, share in a private message. But remember, you are not the only woman who is probably struggling in her leadership, and we shouldn't feel alone. So if this is helpful to you, if you're finding some value from this, please share. We have been talking for the last few weeks about the surviving to thriving continuum, and we're continuing on that thought process. As always, there are guide sheets for you, and so I'm going to reference 3 of them that have been made available in previous Facebook Lives, but you can get all of those at silverrivercoaching.com/guides, and I will give you the numbers as I go through, but you can go find those to help you out. So getting gritty about thriving. We've been talking about thriving. We've been talking about, this place that we often live in is survival mode, where we're barely hanging on, where we are afraid we're going to drop balls, where we're terrified somebody's going to sort of add one more thing to us and we're going to fall apart. We are worried that if we don't figure something out soon, we're going to start to really make a big mess of things. When we're in survival mode, often our energy is depleted, we are feeling drained, we're feeling cranky and bitchy, we are not really enjoying our work very much, and in fact, that spills over into our personal lives, and we're really not enjoying our personal lives either. When we're in thriving mode, it's way different. When we're in thriving mode, we are energized and enjoying our work and having fun and doing the things that sort of pull us into the work rather than being dragged into the work. And the problem is, how do you get there and how do you stay there? How do you go from, this survival mode or maybe you're in that middle stage where you're coping and just sort of going along and it's the old hamster wheel day after day. But how do you get to thriving and stay there? It's not easy. Honestly, it's not. And most of us find that we'll have days there or we'll have glimpses there or we'll have moments there, but to stay there or to come back there is really, really hard. And, when things quiet down at work or we take a little bit of a holiday or, we finally get fully staffed, there's that breathing space where we start to kind of feel it more like, oh, this is what life is supposed to be like. And this is kind of nice and I kind of enjoy this. And then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose and you're back to scrambling again and feeling like you're in survival mode. So how do you get to that thriving place, and how do you stay there? Well, my dear, that takes grit. That takes the determination, the persistence, the doggedness to get to that stage where you're thriving, where you feel good about the work you're doing, where you're feeling like the work you're doing is meaningful, and you come home at the end of the day and you have some energy left to give to the rest of your life. That takes that grit. Now, grit is a scientific term. I know we've always kind of thrown it out as we've talked about, pioneers or somebody who really digs deep and climbs a mountain or wins an Olympic medal. But it's actually a scientific term, and it's been studied by Angela Duckworth. And what she calls grit, or how she defines grit, is perseverance and passion for long-term goals. So I want to break that down. Perseverance and passion for long-term goals. Perseverance is that persistence. It's working hard. It's being determined. And we can all do that. We can all dig deep and get, really focused on this job or this task or this project that we're working on, and we can really stick to it. But that perseverance and passion for long term, the question is, can you stick with that for the long term? Can you work hard and stay focused on it and be determined and persist and persist and persist long term? That's where grit comes into play. The third part of it is you may work your butt off. I mean, lots of us are in jobs where we've been working really, really hard and we are determined, but honestly, we don't care as much about it. And that's where that third component comes in, that passion. So again, the definition of grit is perseverance and passion for long-term goals. You need all three. So let's back that up and break that into, how does that fit into surviving to thriving? How do you use grit to stay or get back into thriving more often? Well, let's start first with the middle part of it, perseverance and passion for long-term goals. Passion. What's the point in thriving? Why do you want to thrive? Why bother? Like, when you're thriving, what's different in your life? What do you care about? What's meaningful to you? What matters to you? So you might think about, when I'm thriving, I'm actually connected to my husband more, to my kids more. When I'm thriving, I'm more engaged in my community, and I want to be engaged in my community. There's some, volunteer organizations that I really want to be connected to. When I'm thriving, my health is stronger, and that's important for me to feel that, because I need the energy to do all of these other things. So that purpose, that passion, is important. You have to reconnect to that. You have to come back to, why does it matter to me? What's important to me about thriving? Maybe when you're thriving, you're better able to do your job. And probably, if you're like me, you got into the field you did because you cared about the work you do. And so we've lost sight of that sometimes. We've lost sight of the clients and the community we serve and the people we work with, because we're caught up in to-do lists and emails and meetings and all of this stuff that we have to run around and do. And we have to reconnect to that passion, that reason we're doing this. That connects to the third part of the grit definition, perseverance and passion for long-term goals. What's your goal? Do you have one? Do you have a vision? Do you know what it is you're trying to create in your life and your leadership and the world around you? Like, seriously, do you know that? Not just oh yeah, it'll be nice to, grow old and have some retirement money and, live a good life. I'm talking about more than that. What's your vision? We've been talking over these last couple of weeks about creating a thriving vision. And so I want you to go back to the worksheet about that. I'm going to look at my numbers here. Create your thriving target. That's guide sheet number 23. And I did a whole session on that as well. But there's a worksheet there that helps you look at, what is your target? What are you aiming for? Where are you trying to go? And you need to create that vision viscerally, meaning you need to be able to feel it and see it. So I often talk about, one of the goals that I have in life is to have a cabin at the lake. I can create that vision in my mind and I can see what the cabin looks like. I know that it has a balcony that I have a chair on that I can sit out in. I can smell what it's going to be like after it rains. I can smell the campfire, the pines. I can feel my husband's arm around me as we're standing there, you know, looking at our cabin and going, wow, we finally did it. I can feel that emotion inside of me. That's a vision. You've got to be able to feel it and smell it and taste it and just know exactly what it is. What does thriving look like for you? Does it mean that you have energy in the evening so that you can go to do some of the things you want to do rather than slough off on the couch and, you know, binge on Netflix? What does it look like? Grit, perseverance, and passion for long-term goals. If you want to thrive in life, and if you're going to get gritty about thriving in life, you need to create those long-term goals. They need to be clear. They need to be visceral. They need to be vivid so that you can visualize them and imagine them and connect to them. On days when you're struggling and you're feeling like you're slipping back into survival mode, what you probably need to do, my dear, is take a break. What you probably need to do is leave work at work for a few minutes and go for a walk. You might need to take a deep breath. You might need to set some boundaries. You might need to learn to say no more. And it's going to be hard to do that. It's going to be difficult to say those things, to find the ability to get those words out of your mouth and to not feel guilty about it. But when you can step back and connect to that long-term vision, like, you know what? I need to stay sane in my job. I need to be able to thrive today because all of that other stuff matters to me. If I fall down and have a heart attack today, I'll never get there, right? If I fall apart and my body starts to deteriorate and I get diabetes or something happens, I'm never going to get to that vision. You need to reconnect to that vision, get gritty about getting to that vision, and that's going to let you go, you know what? I need to take a lunch break. I haven't even ate today, and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. What is going on? That's not thriving. That's barely surviving. And so if you're going to get there, create that vision. The third part is the beginning part. That's the persistence. That's the hard work. That's the determination, right? You know, working really, really hard isn't necessarily a hard thing to do, but working really, really hard on the things that matter and only the things that matter, that takes willpower. That takes inner discipline. That's self-discipline. And if you're going to do this, work really hard at moving more towards thriving or bouncing back there sometimes when you get knocked down, you're going to have to come inside of you, create that inner discipline that says, no, yes, here I am. This is only what I'm working on. Yes, I'm going to work out every day. Whatever it is that you know you need to do to thrive more, and you know it. You know exactly what you need to do. It's all around the fundies that I talk about all the time, the fundamentals: eat, move, sleep, and spirit. What is it that you need to do for your body to, you know, nourish it? You need to eat regular meals and you need to add all the food groups. You know this. You need to move your body. You cannot sit at your computer hour after hour after hour and never stretch or move. You cannot never go without working out, going for a walk, doing some yoga, whatever you know you need to do. You need to get sleep. 3, 4, 5 hours of sleep isn't cutting it. You need to get 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep on a regular basis. And you need to connect to your spirit. That's not necessarily religion. That's going out in nature, reading a book, reading poetry, singing songs. What is it that makes you feel alive again? You need to have all of those fundamentals in place. And you need to have that inner discipline to make those happen. When you do, you will become that thriving person. There's no doubt in my mind. But you've got to move there, and you've got to have that inner discipline to do that. Back to the definition of grit. Perseverance and passion for long-term goals. What are you trying to accomplish? Connect to that goal. Reconnect to the passion about why it is you need to do this. What's so important of it? Think about your kids or your grandkids or your spouse or your family or your community that's waiting for you. Think of all the things that you want to do in your life that you have. Reconnect to those. That will help you to create that persistence and passion and make you want to do this more. I'm trying to make sure I didn't forget anything. So why is it important to you? create your vision, and cultivate your willpower, your inner discipline. Those are the 3 things that I want you to do. When you do those, you're going to get gritty about thriving. The guide sheets I want you to think about. Number 22 is the one that we talked about, where you get to identify where you are on the continuum. Too many of us just kind of go, yeah, I'm kind of in survival mode sometimes, but it's okay. I get out of there and I'm good. What I want you to do is really take a good hard look at it. We spend more time in survival mode, I think, than we really, really think about. We've become accustomed to the busyness. We've gotten used to the level of stress that we have. My husband was sitting there in front of me yesterday, and I was about to cut his hair, and his shoulders were up here, and I just touched them and put them down. I didn't even realize that they were there. Most of us don't, unless we consciously step back and, do a body scan and see where we are. It's when we can kind of roll our shoulders back and loosen our neck that we're like, wow, I was tense and tight. We don't know that until we step back and reconnect. You need to step back, look at the continuum. Where are you right now? Where do you normally land? So that's guide sheet number 22, and I'll put all the links in when I'm done. Then you need to go to guide sheet number 23, and that's create your thriving target. So if this is where I am on the continuum, where do I want to be? And what does that look like and feel like and taste like and smell like? Create your thriving target, guide sheet number 23. And then all the way back in guide sheet number 5, I connected you to the grit assessment. So Angela Duckworth, who's the one who does the science behind grit, has an assessment. So go back to that assessment and figure out how gritty you are, and maybe what you need to do to cultivate some more grit, because that's going to help you get back to that thriving place. So I think I've shared everything, but one of the things I wanted to say about why I shared all this again is Women with Grit is now open. And so it's my signature program, 6-month program for women leaders who are wanting to grow themselves from the inside out. So it's an investment in both your leadership and your personal development. And so if that's something you're curious about or want to know more about, you can go to womenwithgrit.com. The doors are open for that. If you want to check that out and become involved in that program, please do so. The Confident Women Leaders group, if you're just looking for a supportive network, please make sure you join that link when I share it after, or just, look on my page at the top. It's right at the top of the Silver River Coaching Facebook page. You can find it there. I think that's it. Thank you for joining me today. Again, if this has been helpful, please share. Make sure you do the work, my dear. You cannot just think about this and put it away. You actually have to do the work. Go get the guide sheets, sit down, figure out where you are, create your thriving target, and then, my dear, get gritty about thriving in your life. Thanks. Talk to you next week.